Hey everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be doing my June wrap-up. So this is coming a little bit late because I was in California for the whole month of June finishing my novel, Book of Sisters, nickname not a title. If you wanted to know everything about how that went and everything, I did some writing updates for you guys, so I will link the two of those down below. I don't know if the one is going to be going up before or after this video, but nonetheless, I will still link it down below at some point. But despite the fact that I was writing so much, I actually ended up reading a little bit, which was really unexpected. So I ended up finishing 5 books in the month of June, and I did not think I would finish any, so I'm very happy with that. Also, we're in a different setup because I just filmed the writing update and I'm way too lazy to actually stand up to film this video, so here we are. But the first book that I ended up finishing in June is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I don't know where it went, so I'm really sorry about that, but this is a book that is told in poetry, and I actually listened to the audiobook on Scribd and I really liked it. I think the audiobook was a great way to go because it was read by the actual author, so it was like I was just listening to a poetry reading, and it was very enjoyable for me. The book follows the experiences of a young girl growing up in Harlem and learning to use slam poetry to understand herself, her place in the world, her relationship with others, religion, all of that stuff. It was really a poetry collection of self-discovery, and it was a poetry collection that was narrative, so it followed a plot line, which was very interesting. I don't think I've ever read poetry like that before. I loved following the main character as she really discovered herself and seeing through the beauty of this lyrical language that the author used. It was just a really fascinating and unique reading experience. However, poetry is something I really struggle with. I tend to more enjoy the romantic poets, just kind of older style of poetry. Maybe it's my English major snob coming through, I don't really know. But while I did enjoy it, I didn't really love it. I didn't connect that much with the poetry, so I think that is why I ended up giving it a 3/3.5 out of 5 stars, because it was really solid. It was very well done. It just wasn't the kind of poetry that I tend to enjoy. The next book that I read is The Summer of Us by Cecilia Vinesse. This was sent to me by Hatchet, so thank you very much to them for sending this to me. It is a European travel novel, which you guys know I am all about. But this follows best friends Aubrey and Ray on the journey across Europe that they have been planning since childhood, and it follows them and all their friends and all the messy relationships that they have in their friend group. I also forgot to mention that this features a really great lesbian relationship that was one of the cutest ones that I've ever read, so I felt like I should mention that. It's set over 10 days following 5 friends who are going from Prague, Florence, Barcelona, Amsterdam, Paris, and they are having this wild, crazy adventure. This was a super quick read, which was really awesome, and it was very twisty and turny in regards to all the relationships. It was really a kind of everyone is with the wrong person and they like someone else, and it was just kind of a wild ride in that way. Like, I felt like my head was spinning. So the relationships got kind of confusing, and I think it did kind of take away from the travel aspect of the story a little bit for me. There was a character who I thought was the main character, and then he kind of like disappeared for a very long time, so that was kind of weird. But overall, it was a fun and quick summer read, and I do think it was a solid travel novel. It's just not my favorite one that I have ever read, and maybe I just have really high expectations for them. I don't know. I will say that this book takes on a lot. It's a short contemporary, but it has a lot of characters and a lot of different places and a pretty long time period. But it didn't really shy away from that challenge, and I think it did a great job of tackling that. But overall, I don't think I really had the connection with the characters or the travel story that I wanted to. I felt sometimes like I was along for a journey, but for the most part, I felt like I was really along a journey of trying to figure out the different relationships rather than traveling around Europe. So I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Love in Luck by Jenna Welch. This is the companion novel to Love and Gelato, and that was one of my favorite things about it, was seeing the different characters from Love and Gelato show up in this book. It was just so great. I'm a sucker for companion novels where you see characters that you love show up in another book. It just warms my heart. But while Love and Gelato was set in Italy, this book is set in Ireland, and it follows the main character, Addie, as she is away in Ireland for her aunt's very lavish destination wedding. She has her time abroad all planned out. She's going going to go to Italy, but things end up taking a turn and she finds herself on a wild journey around the Emerald Isle. This was such an enjoyable story. I think I enjoyed it even more than Love and Gelato, and I did really like Love and Gelato, but this was just so much fun. However, it did still, like Love and Gelato, pack a little bit of a punch. There was some emotion going into the story following the sibling relationships, and I think that's something that Jenna Evans Welch does really well. She balances the fun aspect of contemporary with a more serious side, which I like. So overall, I give this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was awesome following Addie's journey, and it was just a really fun time. Next, I picked up one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and that is A Very Large Expansive Sea by Tahereh Mafi. I received this book at BEA when I met Tahereh Mafi, which was amazing. She is so sweet and so gorgeous and just so great. But I was so excited about this book because it's very different from her usual stories because it's contemporary and it's a story that is very personal to her, and I was interested to see what her take on it would be. This is set in 2002, the year after 9/11, and it follows the main character, Shireen. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. I looked it up and that was how it told me, so I'm doing my best. But it follows her struggles as a Muslim teen growing up after the events of 9/11 and being terribly prejudiced against, and it was a beautiful story, and it really didn't shy away from the racism that is experienced by Muslim people around the world today. It was so heartbreaking to read, and it was unbelievable, but not in the way that like I felt like, no, that's not true, like that couldn't have happened, but in the fact that I did believe it. I knew that that was something that definitely could have happened, definitely probably had happened before. You could tell that Tahereh was writing about something that was very close to home for her and really just came through in that raw emotion that the story had. However, this book really centered on the romance, and that definitely took away a little bit from my enjoyment of it. The romance did add to the story, but I was hoping for a little bit more beyond a romance story, and that isn't what I got. That's not to say that I didn't like this book because I really loved it. I still gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It just didn't reach the full potential that I had hoped for. I guess it was just my own expectations. It didn't really meet. I think my main problem with the romance was it was quite insta-lovey and very angsty, and I just didn't really care for that in the context of this story. So like I said, overall I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was still a beautiful story. I love Tahereh Mafi's writing, and she did a great job with the subject matter, and I think everyone should read it because it is really important, especially in today's day and age, to educate yourself about what is happening to the people around you that are being prejudiced against. And the final book that I read in June is Wildcard by Marie Lu. I received this book from Penguin at BEA, and I was so excited to start it. It was one of the first books that I started. I received this book from Penguin at BEA, and I was really excited to have it, and I honestly, it's hard for me to pinpoint what went wrong with this book, but it was just something did. I just didn't really feel as connected with the story or the characters in this book as I did in Warcross. Warcross was one of my favorite books of last year. I really loved it, but there was just something about Wildcard that I couldn't really get myself into the world. I don't know if it's the time that I read it. Maybe I will give it a second chance, but I was a little bit let down by the story. I felt like I was waiting for things to start happening, and I was waiting for a very long time. Even though there kind of were things happening, it just wasn't as action-packed as Warcross was. I think overall maybe my expectations were a little bit too high. I enjoyed Warcross so much that the sequel couldn't meet the expectations. I don't really know what happened here, but overall I give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is really sad for me, and maybe I'll reread it and do a thoughts while reading video for you guys. I don't really know. There was just something here that didn't click. So those are all the books that I read in June. Let me know if you have read any of these books, your thoughts on them, or what you read in June. And if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and click that little bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post. I put up new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can also follow me on all of my social media. All of my handles and links and all that fun stuff will be down below for you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!